My friends, today is September 22nd. I went today to the vape store and bought some vapes, some equipment, and was informed by the person at the store that this is the last day of summer. Mr. Robbins, did you know this is the last day of summer? I mean, it is September.
No, I was actually walking today wondering whether or not we'd crossed that line yet.
Yeah. So today is the last day of summer. And I think our ancestors celebrated some passing of the seasons with merriment and dance, and perhaps some sort of ancient drinks they made out of some mushrooms or some shit. But probably not the end of the summer, because they didn't celebrate that, because a lot of them died without proper ability to really secure their home from the elements. Nevertheless, it is perhaps another sort of a kind of a grim occasion. Do you feel your life passing by, your youth slipping away from you, or has it slipped away before?
I definitely say the seasons tend to go a lot quicker, and the years. I'm not necessarily looking forward to the coming winter.
Mm. So basically, your life is just a blur, a meaningless blur. Is that it?
There's an argument to be made for that.
But you say, well, let's say it's on the one hand, it's a meaningless blur, and then that would be 0. And then
Okay.
10 would be some sort of an ideal of a meaningful life, or something tangible and real. Like 10 is tangible and real, 0 is a meaningless blur. Where would you place yourself there, Mr. Robbins?
Well, I've yet to find any sort of profound meaning within existence, I would say, yet I'm not angst or anxiety ridden over a lack of meaning to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where that would place me on the scale.
Well, no, you have to fucking give a number.
We'll give a 5.
Okay, no, well, how about anything but a 5?
I mean, I'll rate it. In that case, I'll rate it a 7. I mean,
oh wow, holy shit!
Even without meaning, or without any grand answer or explanation to what this is all about, so far I'd say it's by no means a horrible existence. You know, there are things to go out and partake in that get you through the week, get you through the years, that, you know, if nothing else, are sort of entertaining. Relationships with people sometimes are pretty good. So it's not completely void of anything of worth.
Mm-hmm. They're the kind of some sort of a sprinkle, a kind of a drizzle that's of meaning that sustains you.
Yeah, well, I'd hate to use the word meaning. Like I say,
I thought you'd say drizzle, but okay. Drizzle, I mean, you're fine with.
Yeah, I mean, there's not necessarily a lot of meaning embedded within, you know, what's going on, but somehow it still seems more than manageable.
But it's basically fine for you to kind of float somewhat disconnected from reality, from season to season, from year to year. You're just kind of fine with this. You're not feeling any angst. You're not bleeding anywhere on the ground below that you're floating above.
That's probably a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, it's a gentle drift toward death is your
life. Yeah. Gentle and like not an angst-ridden. It's not an angst-ridden journey. It's like, it's okay. It'll come.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Mr. Robbins, there are people for whom it is more angst-driven. And you know who I'm talking about here.
Oh, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Dr. Jordan Peterson.
It is Dr. Jordan Peterson. So recently, a number of people have alerted me to the fact that Professor Peterson is currently in rehab for a Klonopin addiction. So from what I understand, Klonopin is like a version of Xanax.
Okay.
Oh, you have no idea?
I mean, I've heard that it's used to treat things like anxiety and depression. I don't know what other drugs it's specifically related to.
I thought that Klonopin was like a version of a long release version of Xanax or something like that. Like it's a slow release version. And his daughter released a video that looks something out of a David Lynch movie. I mean, it's really it's a surreal video, but I didn't want to play it to make fun of it, really. So I'm really not sure what to say about it. In many of my videos before, I have sort of predicted that Jordan Peterson is heading for some sort of a mental breakdown. And I wasn't even being ironic about it, because he weeps and he really puts himself out there in a certain way. And I mean, I do think that he believes himself to be a messiah. And as somebody myself with mental health issues, I kind of recognize the vibes from him. And so now his wife has a form of cancer, and he was seemingly overwhelmed and was placed on this Klonopin, and then now he's in rehab. So, Mr. Robbins, what are your thoughts about this whole situation?
Well, I really don't want to say anything snarky about it. You know, a guy who's down like that doesn't deserve to be kicked around, I don't feel.
Right.
Secondly, I guess the big question, and a lot of what I see going around, is how much this might devalue or invalidate, I guess, a lot of the Jordan Peterson program of self-help. That, you know, the criticism, I guess, is who is he to go around telling people how to get their life together, when now that this has happened, he hasn't been able to do that even for himself. So I'm not sure how much this incident, you know, devalues his program to the people that it appeals to. The more I've thought about it, it's probably like going to be fairly subjective. I mean, if you're someone who's like really bought into the Peterson program, it's probably not going to devalue it for you that much. Just as someone who doesn't.
I mean, the Peterson program, I mean, it wasn't like a path to enlightenment or something. It was just like life advice, archetypal life advice and shit. I mean, Peterson was never against medication. I mean, he said that he took antidepressants before and so on. So he's not against that. I mean, I think I also have empathy for Peterson, and I hope he does well and recover, and his wife also. It made me think about one man I one time saw before I myself went into a deep depression. So this would have been like in the end of 2004 or early 2015. And I was transporting these people in a kind of a ambulette, like a little ambulance, but not an ambulance, just for people with in wheelchairs. And I was in training there, and we were transporting this man who looked like he was like had Alzheimer's. And when I looked at his paper, it actually said that he was severely depressed because his wife died. So he had like catatonic depression. So he was kind of completely paralyzed and didn't talk. And this sort of makes me think of Peterson now, because Peterson isn't, objectively speaking, seemingly mentally stable in a normal way, which is not a bad thing. I'm just pointing it out as a kind of objective attribute. And when something happened to his wife, I mean, he just, you know, is kind of falling apart, which is understandable. And this is something that I am afraid of for myself. It's kind of like you want a young honey or a honey, and then if you get her, you know, this is a tenuous platform for contentment. Is this not, Mr. Robbins? A sensitive heart like mine, you know, under some variation could be further unraveled.
It very well could be. Making a huge investment in something like that, to have it all come crashing down, could definitely have a an adverse effect on the psyche.
Maybe it's better to drift like you, meaninglessly into death, kind of on the soft winds of suburban Ohio life, just kind of drift slowly and gently into the grave.
Yeah, I'll take your pleasures, your simple pleasures here and there where you can find them. The only thing I wanted to add
What does that mean exactly?
Just like going to concerts, listening to music, going to a play, going on your vacations, things like that. Little things. They don't have to be terribly profound.
I see. It sounded kind of sinister when you said it.
But... No. The only thing I wanted to say about something else I was thinking about with Peterson, or this thing that he's gone through. Like you've mentioned before that you seem to have like a fear of Alzheimer's, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. And I was kind of thinking from my end, what he's fallen into is probably about the only thing that I would say I can pinpoint as sort of a fear of my own, is that the unknown of what sort of like life circumstance might break you mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Not knowing what might be right around the corner that you're totally unprepared for, that could just break you. That really bothers me. The idea that something could be right there, tomorrow, next week. You're totally unprepared for it. You're totally unaware of what it might even be.
That's interesting. I've actually been thinking about this exact same topic, but it kind of pertains to the Buddhist video, so which could anyway, yeah. So to go back to Peterson, I do basically feel empathy for him. I hope that sometimes like a moment of weakness should shatter your sort of confident, cocky lobster self. And maybe the shell, like there is a Leonard Cohen song, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. So maybe Peterson's lobster shell will crack a little and he will come out with a new shell, with a more compassionate shell, with a more vulnerable shell, not the kind of a macho tenderness we saw before, fake tenderness, faux tenderness, but a certain something new. Something more, I don't know, less annoying, Mr. Robbins. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe he can come back from this and, maybe a little more humble and, share his experience with people and help them learn from it, I guess.
Okay. I mean, with Peterson, it's funny. I was reading some of the comments below that video, and by some of the comments, I mean like two, but one of them was somebody saying, well, Jordan Peterson is a strong lobster. He's going to make it. And it had a lot of upvotes. And I was just thinking how strange it is to put yourself in a position when you have a mental breakdown and somebody like immediately compares you with a crustacean. And I don't know, it's almost a little bit like you become sort of a character, like you're not entirely real. You're just this kind of a person on YouTube who talks about lobsters. And so this is the first thing that people pops into their minds when they think of empathy for you,
Yeah, they jump immediately to the caricature because it's so strong. It like almost replaces the more human, the real parts of you.
Right. It's strange to kind of perceive yourself as a thinker, like an intellectual, and then have like a specific like animal, consistently associated with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I've been working on this Buddhist video for forever now, and it's actually clocking in now at 7 hours. And so as I work on it more and more, it becomes more of an abstract kind of a journey, because I don't know who actually is going to watch 7 hours. I mean, it's like committing yourself to a book or something. And the more clips I find of lamas talking about stuff, the more it seems sort of, I don't know to what how many llamas people want to listen to, and yet they feel I have to put them in there. I mean, I think that it's insightful, but at the same time, I mean, I'm just kind of making a strange video where it's me for a little bit, and then a llama talks about some concept, and then I come back, and it just goes on and on. And I wonder, like, what the fuck am I doing? Who's even going to watch this? But I guess I have to do this for the promotion of the Buddha Dharma.
Yeah, just pursue it, to get it out of your system, if nothing else.
Well, this is the idea.
Yes.
Right, this is the idea behind your channel.
I was going to say that's exactly the idea behind my videos that get 25 views after 6 hours worth of work put into them.
Yeah, I mean, but you really do work on your videos, right? For hours and hours.
There are some that I really did. That Jordan Peterson thing, that took forever.
Yeah, and then they get like 20 views or
exactly.
Yeah. Well, this is not my what I have been accustomed to as a big time YouTuber here. But yeah, I have entered through Buddhism. I have entered into a new stage of non-attachment to views, I guess, that only Mr. Robbins has been dwelling in. So I will pursue it further, I guess. But yeah, I just want to get it done with. And I don't like, for some reason, I'm also committed to actually leaving it at 7 hours instead of splitting it like a sane person. And I don't know if that's even going to work out. But what do you say, Mr. Robbins? Should I split it in two or just leave it in as a one?
I'd probably think about splitting it in two. I mean, I'd be afraid of like constant crashes as you're trying to upload it, because that's going to be a lot.
Yeah, it's very stupid. The one big reason is sometimes when you watch a long video, YouTube loses its point in a long video, and then you have to like rewind or fast forward to it. But yeah, it's just turned into a strange quest, a very strange quest. Now, Mr. Robbins, you've recently gone to New York.
Correct.
But I have been like disappointed to learn that you didn't spend your time there sitting in a library.
No. I stepped into a library for a very short time and right back out.
So why didn't you go to the library? You didn't have the desire to write?
Yeah, really, that was it. It's like when I was just like so kind of overwhelmed is too strong a word, but just I don't know. I just felt like surrounded by so many things to do that I couldn't really slow down and get into that groove of being able to write.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to kind of get into a kind of a weird zone. I don't want to say a Zen type zone, but there was just too many other things going on, too many things to think about, what I should be doing today, when I should start, that I just couldn't get into that. So,
So what did you end up doing the whole day?
Every day I tried to plan kind of one big thing to do. And then depending on what part of the city that would put me in, kind of look up little peripheral things to maybe check into. So the big things were a Yankees game, a Mets game. I spent an afternoon in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I spent some hours at the Comedy Cellar. I saw a Broadway play. And I spent like an afternoon, evening at this weird little theater. They had a film festival of like Italian exploitation films from the late 70s and 80s. So those were like the major things of each day that I did.
Did you ever see like a lady on the street, like Citizen Kane style, that really captured you? and will remain with you for the rest of your life?
Oh, like a rosebud? No, not at all.
But you did see three ladies there who did look at
Oh, that's yes, yes. Yeah, so being let off out of the airport in Queens. It was kind of neighborhood I'd spent a little bit of time in, but always thought if I had more time, I'd want to go back. It's kind of right in the area of the Jackson Roosevelt subway station. Very a bit of a sketchy neighborhood. So I'm walking around trying to find this bar that I had been to in a trip previous. I was walking under a bridge and saw three young Asian ladies dressed as if to, I would say, attract attention. And as I walked by, it sort of seemed like the one was making like deliberate eye contact and sort of maintained that eye contact the entire time that I walked by.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really...
Were those friendly eyes, or?
I was really kind of weirded out about it. So I tried not to pay too much attention. It just, I don't know, gave off kind of a weird vibe to me. So on the way back, I deliberately walked past from the other side of the street to get a better view of what might be going on. And I noticed them kind of doing the same thing to any other guys that would walk by. And they were kind of hanging out in front of this open door that had a light on in the back. And I couldn't see that it opened up into any kind of business or any kind of room at all. It was just sort of this light that I don't know what was going on in there, but they were just lingering in front of there. There was no sign above it or nothing to suggest it was any kind of business.
Okay.
So
it didn't say like Joe Biden 2020 above their
door. No, nothing like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, my radar when it comes to that kind of stuff I feel is not very good, but there was just something in my spidey sense saying, stay away.
You don't think, right.
It's probably not for you.
Well, what if it so happened that they just really looked at you and said, this man has flaws, but there's a unique aura about him. There's a unique kind of a presence, a solidity to him, a kind of a man who knows how to gently stroke your cheek, like tap you on the nose in the morning and make you feel alive. That they saw that in you, and that you could go with them and live in a kind of a polygamous arrangement.
Well, in that case, I guess my radar has misdirected me away from some potentially deep and profound connection of some sort.
Yes, but what if that were to happen? Would you take the opportunity and just move to New York to live with three ladies?
No.
You wouldn't?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
Literally live with three different people?
Yeah.
In a non-platonic relationship? No, I don't have the energy for that.
Really? You would just choose your life over that?
I think I would. Yeah.
This is what I was going for. This is what I really wanted to get out of the story, because that is very strange. Well, why do you think that wouldn't work out?
Oh, practically? Mm-hmm. It's like, who wants to be involved?
This is the most likely outcome. This is the only plausible scenario to what was going on there that I can think of, so we might as well explore it.
I just don't see any healthy relationship involving, more than two people. Mm-hmm. I just, again, my spidey sense says something's wrong. There's something strange going on there where anyone would willfully, wantingly want to share their kind of romantic attention with somebody else.
Would you live?
I would just be very skeptical.
Okay, would you live with them for a week like that?
Yeah, I guess I might give that a try. Give it a test ride.
Yeah. I mean, the way you described it, there's like, I like the ambiguity of it. It's like, because, the thing that makes that story interesting is just the ambiguity of three women looking at you in front of a door. It's like, it's pretty clear, what it is, but maybe there's a possibility that they really just, are open to some sort of an embrace, open to the new dimensions of something, looking for something, right?
There's always that possibility, but I guess the question is, what is the probability?
Yes, the probability is low, but well, since it didn't happen, you might as well, you have been scared out of it. Your reaction is almost like a woman who's being sexually harassed. It's like when three ladies are looking at you, something is off.
Yeah, I mean, under any normal circumstance, I don't get a single woman to look at me.
Right. Yeah, it's like when I got my hair cut, a lot of ladies that have noticed that at the hospital, but then I just too lazy to shave, and my beard grows on my cheeks and so on, and so I do undermine myself eventually. Mr. Robbins, you were also upset by duck faces in the museum, in the art museum.
Yeah, I kind of hung. They had a big thing going on there, big exhibition on the abstract expressionists. So they had one room that was totally devoted to Jackson Pollock. As I kind of hung around, I noticed at least two younger ladies who stood in front of the biggest Jackson Pollock they had and did that kind of duck face selfie in front of it, which kind of struck me as weird, because I thought, that's like a world-renowned work of art. What is this kind of narcissistic thing of having to insert yourself into it and making it as much, if not more, about you than that work of art? But like we talked, I stopped to think that there are people like in my Facebook, older folks who've done the selfie in front of the Eiffel Tower. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me projecting that thing on the the younger generation, that notion that they're also narcissistic and self-involved. So I don't know if it was that big a deal or not, but it just kind of struck me as kind of weird. And to hang around and notice that none of the older couples, like anybody probably over 35, did that. I noticed that. I mentioned the thing about the girl kind of inserting herself in front of the painting of Dolly's painting of the crucifixion.
Mm-hmm.
Now she kind of stood between the painting and her boyfriend taking the selfie. And, she was very deliberate in the sort of pose that she took to seemingly ensure that certain parts of her body were being properly accentuated and to tease her hair just properly, which again seemed kind of weird that she was going through, such an effort to make herself look presentable in front of that work of art instead of just, appreciating the work of art.
Well, I mean, don't you think it's even more narcissistic to come into this museum with a predisposition to like this work of art that you wouldn't relate to normally? That is to say that it's just a little lie on top of the big lie that is modern art, That is to say, somebody has to first designate this Jackson Pollock as something that holds any meaning for you to recognize it as being meaningful. That is to say, you're coming in there simply because it has been pointed out and has been categorized as something valuable. And yet that value in and itself wouldn't arise in you. So then coming into that show is more of a lie and more narcissistic, as in I have once again ventured into this Brahmin temple where we understand art that is not related to the plebs, and that taking a selfie next to them is just a way less of an offense, if an offense at all. Maybe that is the appropriate thing to do with modern art, is just to take stupid selfies in front of that shit.
Yeah, that's interesting. See, I've never broken it down into narcissism. I've kind of broken it down. Stupidity is like a really strong word, but just like naivete, right? It's like at some point, the gatekeepers of taste have said, hey, this is what's cool, this is what's good. And people who maybe, and I'm only saying maybe, don't know any better, and I'm including myself, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's just an easy sell, Yeah. It's like if enough people say that it's good. Well, the reason I say that I don't know if it's good, and we'll bring in the thing about Rothko if you don't mind. It's like the main room was the Jackson Pollock. The second room was the Mark Rothko. Okay. In terms of like modern art and especially abstract expressionism, I've never gotten it. But I hate to say that it's a bunch of bunk, because, and I brought this up to you, I think other people may respond to it differently than I do. So based on my non-response, I can't thoroughly dismiss it as nothing if someone else may actually be somehow moved by it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will say I'm very skeptical, very cynical, and very skeptical about most of that kind of stuff, as you were saying. It seems to me
it's hard to imagine like a person in the absence of anything authentically responding to that art. I mean, it's not sustained. It's sustained by rich people who buy it, and it's sustained by this specific designation by critics, and that is the kind of its elevating nature. That which elevates it is the very fact that normal people don't relate to it. So then once you're told to relate to it and you relate to it, then you feel yourself a part of the exclusive club of an exclusive group of very sensitive people who see life in something so abstract effectively.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful argument.
So therefore, but it's hard for me to know like authentically how anybody relates to it in absence of that.
Yeah, that's why I would be curious to know your response to something like a Rothko.
Well,
given your experience and the fact that I think that someone like you would try to give an authentic account of what their response to it would be, I'd be really attuned to your experience with that.
I mean, I like Rothko, but that's just based on like one documentary of him that I've seen. I don't know that I would have like a Rothko experience like you described, where people sit and stare at his paintings. Maybe there's something to that. I do like Rothko compared to the others, but I don't know. The only one that I really like is Goya. That's literally the only artist who I really like.
Okay, well, yeah, it was good. There were things there that I hoped to see, of Francis Bacon that wasn't there, or that I didn't find. And Egon Schiele, I was hoping they might have something by him, but I didn't see any of that stuff. So, yeah, that was kind of the Met experience.
Did you want to be with any of the Met ladies, with the sophisticated ladies of the Met? Do you even like look at women when you travel around?
I mean, I definitely notice them. Um, I mean, nothing stands out. I mean, when you say that whole scene from one of those Woody Allen movies, comes to mind when he says like, "What are you doing Saturday night or Friday night?" and or Saturday, and she says committing suicide. So he says, "What about Friday?"
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall that scene?
It sounds familiar. I've watched all the Woody Allen movies in like my early 20s, so I've already like forgotten much of it. But
I think it was from Annie Hall or Manhattan. Anyway, there wasn't any like sort of, bohemian, artsy type person who like really attracted my attention the entire time that I was in there. I mean, you do see like people just, on the subway and out on the street. There's just such a diversity of people that, yeah, I mean, you're going to encounter, beautiful women and beautiful women of all.
But I mean, you had no sort of a sense of misery of like missing out on these relationships with these amazing women?
No.
So there was no bitterness there and no tenderness.
No.
Just a cold, like robotic acknowledgement.
I mean, you see a beautiful woman and you certainly have some sort of response. But I mean, logically, and this is something we might get into later, and something we're going to explore, I guess. It's like the probability of that ever amounting to anything is so minute and so minuscule that I don't even, I try not to even permit it into my consciousness. It's like, why think about that?
It would make you too miserable.
I just think it would be a dumb waste of time. It's like, why? I'm trying to think of another scenario. It's like the writing that I do, like dwelling over like how a person might become famous would be dumb because the probability of that ever happening is so minute. So just do what you do and keep, just try to keep that out of your mind. It's not going to serve anything positive to dwell on that because it's so far beyond the realm of not possibility, but probability, I would say.
Well, what can I say to that? I guess you have learned a certain kind of the way of the Tao when it comes to these things. A certain kind of anesthesia and just sort of, that doesn't like scrape your knee as you bump into things you can't have and you will never have unless you're ready to commit evil crimes. So let's see here now. You have also, Mr. Robbins, you've watched a Rambo movie.
Oh, I went to see the new Rambo movie today.
So you remember, can you describe the 5 pony system to us?
Man. So a fully tailed pony is one pony, but a tailless pony counts as half a pony.
That's correct.
Okay.
So how many ponies would you give?
I could only give this, I'll even be generous, 2 ponies, 2 out of 5 ponies.
2 out of 5.
2 full ponies.
Yeah. So I didn't even know that it was coming out. Who's starring in it?
Well, of course, Rocky Stallone.
Yeah.
Sly Stallone.
Yeah. And who was with you in the theater? Who else was watching that shit?
I think there were only 7 other people in there. So it was a pretty small crowd, and I did hear like on Thursday or Friday on the radio that it had been released to some pretty horrible reviews. So my expectations weren't really high, but I thought, a movie that sells itself and its premise should primarily center around just like lots of action and violence. It's like, how bad can it really be? And then when you ask about like who was in the audience, there was some scene where like Rambo shoots someone with some sort of a shotgun that has some kind of ammunition that upon impact like turns into flames.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, in this scene in which the bad guy shot with this flaming shotgun, I hear some little kid's voice, you know, ha 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 ha. And I'm thinking, man, that somehow seems inappropriate for someone who sounds of that age.
And yeah, I mean, it does sound menacing. So can you like, I don't know, summarize the film and like from the point of view of the archetypes? Like, what is the big idea there?
I mean, it's basically a revenge film. You know, is what essentially was his stepdaughter, really his niece, I guess, who he'd raised. You know, she's abducted. She's torn. Okay, spoiler alert for anybody out there. Here come the spoilers, right? She's going to die. She's going to be tortured, and then Rocky Stallone's going to take his revenge. That's basically it. You know, and here's the thing. It's like you're asking about an archetypal deconstruction. And again, into something we're going to touch on in later in the stream. I'm not good at that. I see our buddy RM Brown here in the chat. Like shortly after that latest Tarantino, one of the first things related to that movie that popped up on my YouTube was his analysis of that.
Mm.
So a guy like that seems really good at breaking those kind of things down. But I just don't have a knack for it. I mean, the whole thing, I will say, like a movie like that sells itself on action and violence. I mean, the last 20 minutes kind of delivered on that. So what you've got left is like an hour to an hour of 10 minutes of like story development or plot. And it's like that kind of movie probably should be like 25% plot at the most, and then just action and mayhem.
I see. So really no lessons learned from that movie.
No, I'm afraid not.
Mm-hmm.
Just mindless entertainment more than anything.
Yeah. In my case, recently, like the doctor wanted to prescribe me Abilify or Seroquel. And Abilify is like an atypical antipsychotic to tame things down. But I think they're kind of taming down by themselves. And then I was like, for around a year, I've been too lazy to take my blood tests for my lithium levels. And so they almost like threatened to cut me off from my lithium. And so I was kind of panicking. But at the same time, it felt like, why would I need to start another drug that they could cut me off of? Although they can, I think they just would want to cut me off of only of lithium or something. But the whole thing seemed very poorly organized or communicated to me, because I was just slacking around on taking this blood test, and all of a sudden, like, you know, they're saying they're not going to renew me unless I do the fucking blood test right there and then. And I thought about the paradox of them like punishing me for not taking another drug by cutting off the ones I have already, but I guess that's not what it was. So that was sort of freaked me out, because if I were to stop these dead cold, then I would be fucked in the head if I just didn't taper off of them.
So
but anyway.
Did you take the drug test or the blood test?
Yeah, eventually I had to, but I mean, it was just something I've been procrastinating off. It's really like a 20-minute drive and like just 20 minutes there. But it took me a sweet year to do it. But finally, I had to be threatened into doing it. Yeah.
Well, good. At least you're back where you need to be.
Yeah, I mean, lithium can like undermine your kidneys over time, but I figured, it's not going to be in a year. we'll find out a few years later if anything's up. But yeah, I'm not gonna take this fucking Abilify. I already take 2 drugs, and that's enough. I guess it's rational to take Abilify, I guess. But I mean, I take already a fucking shit ton of lithium. Why can't it do the trick? It means that if you take a certain amount of lithium, Mr. Robbins, and past that point you're still having a good time with the Buddhism and whatever, it means it's meant to be, clearly.
Okay.
Why spoil the party now?
I see your point. I see the logic in that.
Yeah. I am like taking almost 2 milligrams of lithium, so I mean, how much is enough? Anyway, so let's see what else is going on now. I guess I don't know who's watching this, but I guess we'll son of a bitch. Okay. All right, Mr. Robbins, can you read this poem? Triple X designates change, and can you see it in private chat?
Oh, that's where it is. Yes. So what does triple X?
It's just a line.
Okay, I gotcha. This house has thin walls. The neighbors will interrupt us. You shameless girl, your moans are much too loud.
All right, Mr. Robbins, so do you know who this is?
No.
This is the 6th Dalai Lama.
Okay.
Yes, this is the okay.
Sounds more like something from Penthouse Letters.
This is the 6th Dalai Lama. He was recognized as a reincarnation, and then he refused to become a monk and spent his time in Lhasa, spending time with ladies and singing poems, these beautiful poems. But then the Chinese, who wanted to use him as his puppet, as their puppet to control Tibet, didn't like his wily and freedom-loving ways, and they arrested him and sent him to China. But he died on the way, likely was killed. So we've read a few of his poems on my Patreon stream, and then I just wanted to see Mr. Robbins' analysis of them. So what do you think about this one, the one we just read?
Oh, it's sort of spicy.
Yeah.
Coming from a llama.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that one there's not that much to analyze. The neighbors will interrupt us.
Yeah,
you can imagine. So this was the let's see, this would have been like the 17th century Tibet. So I wonder, like, what would it look like for the neighbors to interrupt us?
Yeah, banging on the walls.
Yeah.
Okay. If a stallion can run free, he goes. If you pull on the reins, you can slow him down. If you tell your secrets to the wrong lover, off she gallops, wild like a stallion.
What do you think about this one?
Wait a minute. I've really got to...
You there?
Yeah. I'm just trying to... So what in telling her your secrets would cause her to gallop away like a wild stallion?
Well, I think the idea is that you can stop a horse, but you can't stop a wild woman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now she has your secrets and she's going to use them against you.
Okay. Well, it sounds like this llama's had quite a bit of experience.
Yeah. Uh, these two poems have been easy, more easy to understand. Let's see.
Well, that last one took me a minute, so if we're going to get a little even deeper, you may have to hold my hand through this one.
Yeah.
There are no clouds in the sky, yet a blizzard whirls on the earth below. There no shoots of grain remain. Let this blow fall on someone else's heart. See, this is too deep.
Yeah.
This is too deep.
There are no clouds in the sky, yet a blizzard whirls on the earth below. There no shoots of grain remain.
So he has a lonely, empty heart.
What's the blow? The blizzard? Yeah. Well, in a sense, you could say, if you want to analyze it, you could say that you don't want to have a cold heart to begin with, because there. On the earth below. It's kind of like you don't want to create the conditions for a cold heart for this blow to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So you have to have an open and tender heart.
Yes. Let's see.
Although the river bottom is deep, the fish can be taken on an iron hook. My sweetheart's bright face hides a darkness within. No matter how you try, you cannot get in.
Have you been there, Mr. Robbins?
To the darkness of a woman's soul?
Well, you can't get in there anymore. That's the point. It's no longer, you don't no longer know what's going on. Even if the well is deep, the stupid fish are predictable. But once a sweetheart, closes her heart to you, even if her bright face, even if she still retains a bright face, there hides a darkness within, and you can't get in anymore. Unlike like fishing, even when you can't see the fish, they still will come to the hook, but not so with a young honey.
Not when she decides to flip that switch.
Exactly.
So you're asking, have I encountered this?
Yes. Because this is a poignant kind of a moment in the relations between men and women, are they not?
I think it would be. But I don't know. I can't say that I've encountered that.
How did your relationships end then?
Okay. The one that definitely comes to mind.
Yeah.
She didn't like flip the switch off. She more or less opened up the door to expose a fair amount of that darkness after things sort of went went very bad.
So you left then?
Well, I guess it was sort of a mutual thing.
But right. But you weren't trying to get into her anymore. You just wanted to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, definitely. And it was sort of at that point when, some of the truth started to come out that, yeah, I guess I saw some of the more unpleasant sides of her that I didn't realize were there before.
Well, I think that would be a different poem.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't know that I've had a relationship long enough to really get to that point. I mean, my most recent one went a few years, but I maybe she was hiding some darkness in there, but I got the feeling that for the most part she was a pretty straightforward, decent person.
I think that there's a point where you just can't get in there because even though they're smiling, the intimacy, the tenderness is gone, and this is what the sixth Dalai Lama is referring to here.
Okay, this white bow in its cloth cover, on whom shall I bestow it? I will place it gently inside my lover's tiger skin quiver. Now, this is getting really spicy here.
Yeah. Yeah, we have analyzed this one with Grant, but what do you think about this one? I've pointed out to the specificity of it. Like there is this specific tiger skin quiver, and you place it gently inside.
Yes.
Like everywhere you can go, that's how you do it, with a sense of precision.
Okay.
What do you think, Mr. Robbins?
I don't really know what to say. I mean, it just seems pretty straightforward.
Do you find maybe some Buddhist themes in there, like mindfulness?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm trying to think of a gracious way of saying it, but I'm not coming up with a gracious way of saying it.
Yeah. So this is going to be the last one, but it's one we discussed with Grant also.
Sensory delights, those illusory riches, are gathered by lust, by love and hate. Yet, when I fall in love with her, the knot of my lust became untied. Became untied. Okay.
So what do you think about this, Mr. Robbins? So does falling in love with someone, as the sixth Dalai Lama here proposes, kind of unwinds the lust, transcends the lust? Can you objectify somebody you're in relationship with?
Wow. I would say a lot of those, the knot of my lust becomes undone. It's like, yeah, over time, yeah, a lot of that does fade away. I don't know that it's necessarily a matter of like simple lust manifesting into something like love.
But that's what he says. Yet when I fell in love with her, the knot of my lust became untied. So did the lust go away, or did it gain a new ethereal nature? Because I kind of find this to be true.
I find that long term, I mean, yeah, the lusts certainly diminish, but is that simply a consequence of like a relationship turning into something more like love, or just the natural result of like continued exposure? You know, it's like something new and novel comes into your life, and you know you're naturally fascinated with it. But over time, you know, it becomes less of a novelty. And it could be anything. It's not necessarily a person. It could be some
But
material
okay,
acquisition. And
let's
that's
see.
not a matter of transitioning into love. That's just a matter of the novelty of that thing wearing off.
So let's say you have like a beautiful girl and
Mm-hmm.
then fall in love with her. Does
Yeah.
your lust changes? Like you see, like you're in high school and you're very hot and bothered, you're horny, and then there was a girl there, and like, and you say, "Wow, she's hot," and then you fall in love with her.
Well, I mean, it definitely diminishes. I would say that. Now, whether it's morphing into something else, if it's morphing into something like a more mature love,
A more mature desire.
or if it's simply diminishing, um, I don't know.
I mean, I think the answer is pretty clearly yes. Like some
Okay.
sort of it's like just these strange people who still feel lust for their loved ones to the same degree. These are the aberrations.
I would say so.
So I think that it has always been the same with me. When I fell in love with a lady, kind of the lust would not be something I would describe my feelings as. Once you have tenderness, you can't have lust. So, what are your overall opinions, Mr. Robbins, on the $6 Lama? Would you go receive teachings from him?
I Yeah, I'd be interested to know a little more about him. I mean, he seems kind of more hip than I would have expected for a llama.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I was pointing out on the Patreon stream, the interesting thing about these poems is that he was taking a huge risk by doing all of this. Because, I mean, it's like a king escaping from his palace or from his royal duties to just, run around and drink with the average people, just hang out and openly sing about how much he, enjoys the company of ladies.
Yeah.
So there was a menacing cloud above him as a result of it, because everybody expected him to be a monk. So
Yeah, he seems like, he might be a pretty fun guy to hang around, to talk to.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there was huge pressure on him not not to lead this kind of a lifestyle. And I mean, it did cost him his life at the end.